What's happening, SVSers? Welcome to the 92nd, that's 92 edition of the SVS Audiophile Happy Hour. And
what are we going to do on the 100th one?
I know, we got to start planning. I mean, that's going to hit before the end of the year, I feel like. So there's got to be some planning in here, and maybe some extra special guests. Maybe we'll have to go for like 4 hours.
We better get Monique to order some confetti for us.
There you go. What do you think about a 4-hour live stream? Or how about a 24-hour live stream in honor of
just get drunk.
I don't know if I can do that.
That might be a little extreme.
It'll be more like Big Brother. What's that show, Big Brother, where they're like in the person's house all day long?
You'll be seeing a lot
I think you want to be in my house all day long.
Yeah, we'll all be sleeping, but all good. Well, Gary, I want to kick it to you first before I send, greet everybody and say hello. And so Gary, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, as always, I've been looking forward to this all week. It's the highlight of my week. I'm so happy to be with the SVS community. We were not even going to go there, but I saw from the comments that a lot of people are thinking about the violence that occurred earlier today. And listen, this is a place where we all can go and not think about politics for an hour. But I can say this, and I don't think it's political. We condemn violence in all its forms at SVS. All of us agree with that, and I know the SVS community agrees with that. And we send out our warmest thoughts to the families of those affected by this violence. And let's not think about politics for an hour, and let's just have a good time together.
And maybe learn something and give away some speakers and subwoofers. I mean, who's going to be against that? So with that in mind, we have 3 giveaways this evening. And all you got to do is leave a comment. 1 million comments does not get you 1 million entries, but we love to see the conversations happening in there. And we have 3 fabulous prizes. And Larry, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are we giving away this evening?
Well, good thing I can read because I got it right here. We are giving away, first off, a pair of Prime bookshelf speakers. Then we're going to follow it up with an SB1000 Pro subwoofer. And then to close out the evening, someone's going to walk away with an SB3000 Micro. Well, not SB, but 3000 Micro subwoofer. So good times tonight.
Fantastic prizes. And we have some events to talk about in a little bit, but in sticking with tradition, we got to go through some listening recommendations or live concerts that we've been to recently. So Ed, I'm going to start with you. Hopefully you got something. I see your ears looking better. No wasp attacks.
Oh yeah, I missed that ear of yours, Ed.
The cauliflower ear. Yeah, it's all better now. Hydrocortisone made it swell and go down. We're watching Night Agent season 2 right now. I think it's better than season 1. It hit its stride. There's been a couple moments at the end of the episode, so I'm enjoying it. I think it's a solid season. Night Agent 2 spent like 12 weeks, 10 or 12 weeks at number 1 in Netflix. So gets my recommendation, and a good soundtrack too.
Excellent. All right, one and done for you, Larry. I know you've been doing the Road Warrior thing, so you had some plans to go see some movies out in the theater. Did you ever get to see them? And if not, what else you've been into?
Yeah, I don't remember what I did in the theater because I don't remember what we did last time we were on the show, but saw a few of the newer releases, and next week I'll go see a couple of the ones that came out this week and last week. But with all the travel, I started Slow Horses on Apple, and I'm absolutely loving that show. I think I'm almost at the end of season 3 or beginning of 4. I forget where I left off. Rewatched season 4 of Stranger Things, and a couple weekends ago took my son to his first concert. So I guess that was 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever. I took him to a metal show, and we were talking about going last time, and saw Wall of Death. It was pretty awesome, but saw the Funeral Portrait with Dayseeker and Ice Nine Kills, and we had a blast. Sounded awesome. And looking forward to the next show. And I'm just getting ready for Halloween, man. I've been watching horror movies like crazy. I won't go there, but I very much enjoy watching horror movies, and I don't know if everybody's that way.
Well, I will say horror movies do provide some of the best audio demos as far as just creating emotion. And I know one of our most popular choices that we like to really scare people with at some of our shows is what, Larry?
It's Annabelle Creation. I very much like throwing that one out there. If the environment's quiet enough, it's quite a bit of fun. And Godzilla has turned into really scary for a lot of people. Godzilla -1. We have people jump nearly every time we play it because there's just this massive roar. So I've been enjoying that too.
Gary, you a fan of jump scares in movies?
I have enough terror in my life without seeking it out in horror movies. So I'm not. My family always laughs about the fact that I don't like horror movies. They like sticking me in front of it and watching me recoil in terror. Same thing with roller coasters. I'm not a fan, but I do it just to entertain others because they like to see the look of fear on my face.
Well, outside of horror movies, which you have not been watching, what have you been into recently? In addition to a couple concerts, a double-header concert, if I remember correctly.
Well, like Larry, I've been on the road for 3 weeks. So, I mean, essentially three weeks in a row where I really have not had time. But I did get a chance to watch one movie in my home theater, which is Highest to Lowest. I don't know if you've heard of this. This is the Spike Lee with Denzel Washington. And it's quite good and exciting, and the soundtrack is good. So I will recommend that one. You can watch it included in Apple TV Plus service, or I guess you could probably rent it. So that was good. That was a good, fun demo. But I haven't really been able to do anything other than watch things with my headphones. So I'm not gonna endorse anything. I will say, as you allude, Nick, I think the highlight of my year occurred last week. And it even got, not last week, I guess the week before, it even got me sick, and I don't care. I went up to New York and I saw System of a Down with my oldest son who lives in New York at MetLife Stadium. It's like 80,000 people watching System of a Down, and they played deep cuts. I think I read 26 songs, and everyone knew every word. I've never seen a show with that much energy and excitement. They were even doing the wave before the show, 80,000 people doing the wave, waiting for System of a Down. So awesome. That was definitely my concert highlight of the year. But I'm going to this weekend see Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson at Meriwether Post Pavilion in the DC area. That's their Outlaw Music Festival. So that will be a lot of fun as well. So it's live music for me.
Willie Nelson is on my bucket list, and they canceled the stop that was coming.
Well, you better go before he kicks the bucket.
No, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's ever going to die.
I know.
The time is probably running out.
He's pretty well preserved at this point.
He's got to come back for Super Troopers 3 too. So
yeah,
we should see.
Well, I have to mention one that I'm seeing in the comments, and also I should encourage people to watch the comments too, because there are tons of great suggestions for content. But I'm seeing K-pop Demon Hunters show up more and more and more, and that's probably not a surprise since it became the most streamed movie in Netflix history, which I think would surprise a lot of people. And my son watched it and was totally into it. He watched it in our smaller system, so I don't think I got the full experience, but now, after seeing it validated here in the comments, I may have to check out K-pop Demon Hunters, like everyone else in the world who's already seen it. But sort of a dark horse. I don't think people would have expected that as a legit, cinematic demo. But I'm gonna have to check it out. A couple other things I've been into.
That may be my final frontier. I'm trying to like K-pop. I really am. For I think reasons other than music, Blackpink seems to show up in my TikTok feeds, but I have a feeling that has nothing to do with music. But I'm trying to like K-pop.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a guilty pleasure. So as much as a lot of people don't want to admit that they enjoyed it, it's got it all: story, good sound, interesting visual effects. So I gotta say, I won't completely pass judgment until I've seen it, and the next broadcast I'll report back there.
It was showing in theaters last week too. I thought that was kind of
it's one of those rare, got pushed into theaters after having already been released on streaming, which should say something to you. But I've also started Alien Earth, which I'm kind of into. It's an FX show, and I generally like the way FX broadcasts. I love the premise. I'm still sort of learning the characters, so I'm not totally into it, but I do love the premise. My date recommendation with my wife is Platonic. That's a show on Apple TV Plus where well, it's just a great watching. It's got Seth Rogen in it, and so it's got some good comedic moments. My son has been reading the Harry Potter books, which never was a big fan, but we watched the first movie since he finished the first book, and the Quidditch scene was actually pretty immersive. I think you got that in your
It is
lineup of discs
we
there.
were traveling with, yeah.
Yeah, good surround on that one.
My music recommendation, this is a young lady who we've been playing at all of our events for a long time. She started as an artist on YouTube, just doing covers of like Frank Sinatra and Queen. Her name's Angelina Jordan. And we use a lot of her music in some of our demos. But she just released her first, or not first, but her first full-length LP as far as original music. And she's got kind of a smoky Amy Winehouse voice, still only 18, 19 years old, but I just found her very soulful, very poetic in terms of her lyrics. So Angelina Jordan is her name. She's releasing her music independently. So I would encourage people to check her out. Really, really talented vocalist, and has done stuff with like Pentatonics, who inside track, Kirsten Maldonado owns an SB16 Ultra subwoofer there. Little plug.
And she owns Ultra Towers.
Yeah,
right? The original
Ultra
Ultra Towers.
You're right. So cool, recommendation there if you're looking for some soulful, good dinner music, things like that. Angelina Jordan's her name if you want to look her up. So there you go. There's your recommendations. And all of us, except for Ed, just got back from the largest trade show for technology integrators in North America. It's a show called CEDIA. And we had an amazing experience there. Gary, why don't you give a quick overview of that? And then I know Larry's got a good anecdote from an interaction he had with somebody who was kind of cool to visit our booth, but give a quick rundown of what we had at CEDIA.
Well, SVS is, because we have a direct relationship with you guys, the SVS community, integrators haven't always welcomed SVS into their family. But we've always exhibited at CEDIA, and we really support the integration community. This latest CEDIA that we did last week, I felt like we were the belle of the ball. I mean, we had our booth. The word on CEDIA was that it was not as well attended this year as last year, but we were just crushed with integrators, and it was a great feeling. I feel like we're 100% fully endorsed and embraced by the integrator community. We added lots and lots of dealers, which was fun. So if you work with an integrator who wants to bring technology into your life, you're probably going to get a chance to include SVS in that conversation. So I was super, super positive. I was really stoked because I'd been hearing negative stuff about CEDIA in the weeks prior. Like people were saying, "Oh, we're not going." Ended up being our best CEDIA by far. And even, I don't know how crowded the rest of the show was, but we certainly went nuts, right, Nick and Larry? We were just busy the entire time from the minute the show opened. And we didn't even, although a couple of us kind of participated in breakdown, and had to keep talking to people because nobody would leave, even at the end of the show, which is usually a ghost town. So it was really, really positive.
Yeah, the funny thing is the first 2 days of the show tend to be very well attended. You have lots of dealers, lots of integrators coming by, learning about the brand, but also just saying, hey, I've heard so much about you guys. It's time for me to start, working with you directly. But then the last day generally is like less attendance, but all the exhibitors get out of their booths. And we just had this constant flow of people. And I don't hate to say it, competitors of ours coming in to kind of do some recon, but then also people who are selling shades and security systems and irrigation systems, all just coming because our demo had sort of like the buzz around it had percolated out into the show. So it was. Well,
I did hear. I mean, this is. I'm not going to name names, but there was a over $100,000 theater that was not far from us, and I heard multiple comments that our theater, which is literally 1/10 of the price, sounded way better. Larry did a great job setting it up, but that's where we live. When we can beat a six-figure theater in a show environment like that, it was really, really gratifying to hear so many comments like that.
And we didn't even have a roof. We had a convertible demo booth, which I think in some way helped us because the sound just sort of emanated from it and it drew people in. And I saw somebody ask, the name of the female vocalist was Angelina Jordan. Angelina Jordan, if you want to check her out. But Larry had a really cool interaction where I could tell he was sort of fanboying a little bit, and I was too.
Yeah.
No, I thought I was fanboying. I didn't meet the guy, but I know people from this company. So go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, so we ran a 5.2.4 theater at CEDIA. It was all Ultra Evolution.
Meaning we had 4 height effects, which is the first time we've done that in a trade show. 4 height effects,
right.
2 PB17 Ultra Revolutions, and then all the rest Ultra Evolution. It was a killer theater.
Yeah, and we couldn't really do calibration, so it was just me kind of adjusting it by ear and stuff because it was kind of loud.
And I helped you.
Yeah, and day one, we're playing the movie Sinners, and finish the scene. And if you've seen the movie, it's right in the middle of the movie, the big musical scene that they have. And this guy comes walking in and he kind of points at the screen and goes, I worked on that film. And I was kind of like, huh? And he goes, yeah, I was in the studio with Ludwig and Ryan. And if you're a movie junkie like me, you knew exactly who's talking. It was Ludwig Göransson, the composer and producer on the film, and Ryan Coogler, the director. And he puts his backpack down and pulls out these frames from the movie, these large film frames from Sinners, and shows it to me. I was like, man, we were just kind of geeking out about how I really love the film. I saw it a few times, and we've been playing it and stuff. And then I was like, would you like a demo? And he sat down, and during the demo, he's just kind of like enjoying it, bobbing your head and all that. And then he takes out his phone, and he's taking pictures and videos and texting. And I don't know where they might have been going. I would think it would be cool if they went to the people we were talking about. But then I go, well, what'd you think of that? And he goes, man, that was amazing. It's exactly how we wanted people to experience it in IMAX. And it turns out he's one of the VPs of IMAX on the side that works with the directors and engineers and stuff on the large format scenes. And it was cool. I was like geeking out the whole day. It was the highlight of the weekend. And it was really awesome to see. I won't share his name, but we got to talk to him and stuff. But it was really cool to just have that kind of validation at a show like that.
Well, we might be sharing his name after all, because I connected with him on LinkedIn and I've started a conversation. So
his name's Greg.
He appears as a guest on the happy hour. No guarantee.
And I'm really happy to hear that, because we know those people. I know those people from a previous life where we were putting together some collaborations, and they're really great people. They're very committed to great sound. So for him to have an ear-to-ear grin hearing our system that is incredible validation of our speakers and subwoofers.
Absolutely. And it was just cool to have him in there geeking out with us. A couple of comments I saw come in asking about Capital Audio Fest. SVS will be there in a big way. We're going to have a 2-channel room and a multi-channel music home theater room. So if you can get down to the DC area in November, we'll post all the dates listed on our site and everything, but we will have a nice presence at Capital Audio Fest. So if you folks asking, definitely
I will be there. Nick will be there. Larry will be there.
No doubt.
People ask me about Ed, and I'm like, no, Ed never leaves the house.
Yeah, you know what was cool though? We had people coming into the booth who were asking by name for multiple of our customer service people. Scott, well, I won't go through the Rolodex, but at least 4 different CS people, because we've had a lot of the same team for many, many years, and people just know them as experts. But they were like, oh, so-and-so here. And it's like, yeah, they don't travel as much as maybe they want to, but they do phenomenal work. So
lots of rock stars on our team, but we do have to hold down the fort when everybody else is away traveling.
Yeah. It's hard to do customer service from a trade show floor. That's
customer service never sleeps.
That's right.
Ed's a hermit. So
people are asking where it is. Capital Audio Fest is in Rockville. The hotel changes its name like every year. I think it's a Hilton now, but I'm not sure. Yeah. It's right there on, if you know DC, it's right there on Rockville Pike.
Yeah.
Just look up Capital Audio Fest on their site.
It's the weekend of November 16th. I know that because it's my anniversary. So
there you go.
What I'm always out of town that weekend.
Well, it's usually on my birthday, so I'll take it. Not being on my birthday.
So there was some big news in the world of streaming music today, and I did see 1 or 2 comments alluding to this, but I thought it would be a good topic of conversation here as far as education and just breaking news. And that would be that Spotify has now announced that they are going lossless. And that does not mean it's available right now. It's going to be through October. They're rolling it out. But Gary, why don't you start us off with the definition of what lossless is?
Well, they're calling it lossless because that sounds really perfect and uncompromised. Reality is it's CD quality, or slightly, I will say, slightly better than CD quality. It's 24-bit, 44 kilohertz. So that is a little bit better than CD quality, but it is not high res. But I think if they commit to it and they put everything out there in CD quality, that's going to be a massive step forward for every Spotify subscriber. So I'm thrilled about that, actually. And you know, if you have Tidal or you have Amazon Music's high res, or if you have Qobuz, you know they don't have every single track in high res anyway. A lot of them are in CD quality. So this will be a really positive step for the, I guess, billions of Spotify subscribers. And it means that if you have a system that such as our Prime Wireless Pro that can do high res over Wi-Fi or has AirPlay 2, now you will get the full potential of those technology platforms because you'll be able to hear it in CD quality. My wife always is playing Spotify, and I always kind of cringe on our really beautiful system to hear it because it doesn't sound that great. And now with CD quality, it's going to sound so much better. So I think it's great.
Well, there are a couple caveats we should mention. If you are streaming to a device via Bluetooth or listening on wireless Bluetooth headphones, you will not benefit from this lossless quality.
You'll benefit slightly. You will benefit. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Bluetooth is better than what Spotify was, but it won't be CD quality because Bluetooth can't do CD quality. So you're right. But if you have Bluetooth and you're streaming in CD quality, you will hear a benefit to the sound, even though it won't be full CD quality. It'll still be better than normal Spotify.
And I just want to point out too, and maybe this is a question for Ed or Larry, what are you actually hearing when it's CD quality versus what the previous version of Spotify? Like, how can you actually perceive this in terms of the sound quality as far as this less compressed audio?
It's not just less. I do want to speak to that. I know you're asking, not asking me, but you started with me. It's not just less compressed. That makes it almost sound like it's minor league. You get much more resolution and detail. You're going to hear a lot more of what is there in the original recording, and that's huge. I think where I don't even miss the lack of I don't worry as much about the compression. I know others do hear that, but what I really hate is that fuzzy sort of sound that Spotify has. It's just not. It doesn't have the detail and resolution in its current form. But it will sound now like a CD or close to in the and yes, Nolan, you're right. Better dynamic range. Yes, Brian, better depth and deep. You know what? I think the SVS community can explain this benefit better than
yes. It's just gonna sound better. There, done.
More highs, more lows, better dynamic range, which is basically the ability to go from
But again, detail and resolution. Detail and resolution. Highs and lows doesn't really. I don't want to correct everybody, but that doesn't really capture it.
But it is only, as far as I know, it'll only be available on the premium service, which I think is like $11.99 a month. So it won't be the free service that you get it with. But, it's something that, like I said, they'll be rolling out through October. So something to check out since I know we got a lot of Spotify listeners.
This is triggering some good questions. Ricky is asking, what are the best streaming services if you want to hear surround sound music? And I believe I can answer that Apple Music, which I re-signed up for, is the way to go if you're into surround sound. I was just doing this for someone who'd never been heard my system before. I was just playing Dolby Atmos music for him, and his jaw was dropping. It really works well. Not on every recording, but there's enough out there where you can really blow people's minds with Dolby Atmos music.
All right. Well, we are due for a giveaway, and our first giveaway of the evening, somebody's going to be able to enjoy that lossless streaming from Spotify if they pair it with a proper front-end piece of equipment for their new Prime Bookshelf speakers. And the winner of those Prime Bookshelf speakers is Kevin Horst. Kevin Horst.
Yay, Kevin.
Congratulations. Congrats, Kevin.
Congrats. You got some Bookshelf speakers coming your way. Couple other quick updates just as far as SVS goes. We recently added our SoundPath tri-band wireless audio adapter back into the fold. We were out of stock for a little bit. So if you want to get that wireless connectivity to your subwoofer, you're able to do that. And what's great about the tri-band is it switches between different bandwidths. So if you have a congested wireless network in your home, this will find the most stable one, and you won't have to worry about any sort of cutouts or anything like that with streaming. But it's available on our site now, and that's been out of stock for a little bit, but now it's back. So you can check that out. And I did see a question about that, whether you can split a single receiver across 2 subwoofers, or if you need to have multiple receivers. Ed, what's the deal with using multiple subs with the SoundPath tri-band or the regular wireless audio adapter?
Tri-band has the capability of additional receivers. So if you want to have 2 subwoofers in different parts of the room, you can have 1 transmitter, 1 receiver with the tri-band kit, and then purchase a separate receiver and connect to another subwoofer. The regular wireless audio adapter is capable of handling stereo, but there's only 1 receiver, so they would have to, the 2 speakers or 2 subwoofers would have to be fairly close to each other, and you would run a cable to each one.
Very good. Ed, we're going to stick with you, and this is not officially the beginning of the lightning round, since these we had a couple questions that were submitted ahead of time that I wanted to get through, and this was actually an interaction Ed had with a customer about a lesser known AV receiver feature and or setting that was affecting the performance of this person's subwoofer. Can you walk us through what it was, and then maybe this could help somebody with any issues they're having with troubleshooting their subwoofer?
Yeah, sure. This customer reached out, has a very nice system, and one of our higher end subwoofer models, and said, you know, when I turn up the volume, the subwoofer just seems flat. It doesn't have strong dynamics. It's not hitting hard. And some other CS reps had gone through setup with this customer, and everything looked fine. So it was escalated to me, and we decided to do a deeper dive on our video consultation. And I said, well, let's start digging into your deeper dive settings. And we discovered that midnight mode was enabled. And midnight mode's been around forever. And essentially what it does is it compresses the dynamic range of the presentation. So the quiet sounds are louder and the really loud sounds are quieter. So everything plays at the same volume. Hence the term midnight mode. You can watch at night and adjust the volume so you hear everything without blowing people out of the house when something dramatic happens. But it does crush the dynamic range of the presentation. It was enabled. It was set to heavy. And the subwoofer just was being basically restricted and throttled and was not able to hit its peak performance. So we disabled that, and bang, all the performance came back and all the dynamics and slam and impact from the subwoofer. Other things to look for similar to that would be Odyssey's dynamic volume, and also Dolby has their own version of this called Dolby Volume. So those are things to look for if you're doing an in-depth review of your settings and you're not getting the dynamic range and slam and impact you're expecting. Check out midnight mode, dynamic volume, and Dolby Volume. And
so let me say, because when you run Odyssey, it kind of almost assumes you want these turned on.
Right.
The way at the end of running it. So let me make you're being very diplomatic. I'm going to be less diplomatic. I think these are very useless and overrated features unless you're living in an apartment or you have other family members that just detest the sound of a home theater, which I don't get, but I guess I know that it's out there. But otherwise, don't turn those things on. Don't turn this dynamic. What's it called? Because dynamic power, I think, or something.
There's midnight mode, dynamic volume, and
dynamic volume, right?
Dolby volume.
Dolby volume. Just don't turn those things on. You all you're doing is wimping out your home theater that you stepped up to have this wonderful home theater, and now you made it wimped out. So turn them off.
Yeah, when you complete Odyssey, it asks you, like, the first thing, do you want to save these settings? And then it asks, do you want to turn on the dynamic volume?
They make it sound like that's the greatest thing ever. Yeah, of course I want to turn it on. Why would I not? Don't turn it on.
So there you go. Hopefully that helps someone out there. And if you ever are uncertain of where to find these settings, you can email our customer service team or give a call, and they'll help you narrow down how to get those settings where they need to be.
Matthew, same thing. Dynamic EQ. Don't turn it on.
All right.
Or turn it off. Disable it.
I think we set the record straight as far as that goes. So
well, no, I'm watching a comment. Listen, this stuff is confusing. I get it.
It is.
I'm reading the comments.
All right, so we had another question come in ahead of the broadcast where this person is they have a single system. It's a multi-channel system, but they recently got a high-performance integrated amplifier, and they want to actually have a separate 2-channel system that they can listen to music through, but then also switch back and listen to the multi-channel home theater as well when they're doing cinematic content or streaming TV. So Gary, I'm going to throw this one to you first. I think number one, why would you want to do this? Why would you ever want to only listen to music in stereo with a separate, integrated amplifier component? And then, maybe between you and Ed and Larry, we can help educate people about how to set that up in a way that would actually be easy to go from one to the other.
Okay. Great question, first of all, and the way you put it. Why would you want to do this? So the question is, imagine you have one room, your one main listening room. Many of us have that. I have that, and I'm sure maybe all of us do. Your one main listening room may have a full-on home multi-channel home theater, but sometimes you want to listen to 2-channel, and you want to hear 2-channel in its best form. Well, the best form for 2-channel, if you can do it, is to have a 2-channel amp or integrated amp or preamp, an amp that is not using the home theater receiver, which has processing and all kinds of other things going on. So not necessarily optimal for 2-channel. How do you do this without having 2 separate systems in the same room? Well, the way I do it is, and Ed said, he gets in the weeds with this. I'm going to just try to make it as simple as possible. Old-fashioned integrated amps and preamps have a thing called tape monitor, which is basically a tape loop with ins and outs. And we can tell you how to do it if you call us, but basically you would let the home theater live in the tape monitor loop. And so when you play 2-channel, you could literally turn off the home theater receiver and still enjoy 2-channel. That's for old-fashioned preamps and integrated amps. Nobody has a tape monitor loop anymore because nobody has a cassette deck to make recordings with. So modern integrated amps and preamps, not all of them, but I think most of them have what's called a home theater bypass mode. And it allows you to push a button that basically cuts the home theater out and lets you have a direct connection between the integrated amp or the preamp and your speakers for a pure 2-channel experience. Why would you do that? For the most pristine experience. If you have a high-end preamp and amplifier, you don't want a receiver in the mix there. You want to be able to cut it out and just have that pure signal path. And the way you do that is, again, old-fashioned preamp, tape monitor loop. Modern preamp or integrated amp, they have a home theater bypass button. And that's the purest signal path for 2-channel, but still allows you to have a home theater using the same speakers and the same amplifier. Was that okay, or was that confusing?
No, I think that covered it. I was able to follow. I think if there are questions, then certainly reach out. But I think it was pretty clear about the benefits and how to actually set it up. We are seeing some comments about the difference between dynamic EQ and dynamic volume as far as the AV receiver settings go. Ed, you want to tackle that one and help people understand what the difference is?
Yep. So dynamic EQ essentially is a glorified loudness control. It compensates for deficiencies in our hearing at low volumes, especially in the bass regions. So if you're listening at low to moderate volumes and dynamic EQ is enabled, it makes the system sound very balanced, and the subwoofer and the bass sound closer to the mids and the highs. Dynamic volume is the bad guy that we don't want, and that one does crush the dynamic range of the presentation. And that one will typically have light, medium, and heavy for settings. It does normalize incoming volumes if you're switching between a lot of different sources. So there's some benefit there, but I think the negatives outweigh it. And we all agree it should be disabled most of the time.
Well said. Hopefully that helps people answer those questions. All right, Larry, you are our resident Prime Wireless Pro expert here. So Brian has a question for you. He wants to know if there's any difference in sound quality between using Chromecast, which is the Android's way of wirelessly sending, audio to a speaker or a pair of headphones, versus an optical cable when listening to Prime Wireless Pro speakers with Amazon Music or any of the other high-res music services. Optical versus Chromecast, or I guess for that matter, AirPlay 2. What would the difference be, if any?
Well, of the three, just literally doing that right here, I could say there is a little bit more dynamic, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, dynamic range if I'm listening like the same content off of my CD player versus streaming. It's going to be similar audio quality because the AirPlay Chromecast is 16-bit, similar to that of what you'd be getting from like a CD. Now, if you have Prime Wireless Pro and the DTS Play-Fi app, which allows it to open up the high-res capabilities, you can go into your like Amazon HD or Qobuz high-res files, or whenever Spotify comes about, do the higher res files, and you would get, once again, just a step up and more dynamic range. I kind of, the way I explain it to people is when we're talking a show is like, Bluetooth is the worst way to listen. It'd be like going back to cassette. Then AirPlay Chromecast would be like CD, and then using the Play-Fi app for full high res is like going to full 4K. And it's an easy way for people to understand that.
And that would be over Wi-Fi. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to stream it over, those other two services you mentioned. All right, Derek has a question about, have we discussed warm-up time? And I don't think this is break-in, but warm-up time for equipment. Do you have to get your system stretched out before you really push to the test? And then follow-up, how long can equipment be run before needing a break? And if our trade shows are any indication, you can really abuse your SVS.
Right out of the box.
But is there any truth to the fact that you need to warm up your system before really starting to push it to the limits?
Well, I'll speak to it, and then others can talk as well. There's only one caveat in this, only one, which is if you have a high-end power amp, in other words, one that is Class AB or Class A, do not leave it on all the time. You need to turn it off when you're finished using it. And the reason is that they have limited life if you leave it on. And you don't want to have to fix an amplifier. So that I have a very high-end Mark Levinson power amp that I use. I always turn it off at the end of my listening session. Now, the next question was, does it need a warm-up period? Well, does it need a warm-up period? No, it'll work as soon as you turn it on. Will it sound better after an hour of being on? I got to be honest, I can't hear a difference, but maybe others can. I don't like just bragging about the things I heard when I didn't really hear them. So I don't hear a difference, but I've heard others say that. So if you want to warm it up for an hour, you certainly shouldn't need more time than that. Just remember to turn it off at the end. Ed, Larry, you have any opinion about this?
I would say the one that really makes a difference would be if you're running tube amps, and they're still pretty popular, especially with Macintosh has some real high-end tube amps.
Yeah, that's right.
Those do need to warm up. The tubes need to come up to stable temperature in order to get the voltage steady and the performance correct. So I would say let those warm up. But other than that, if it's solid state,
and definitely turn those off. The last thing you want to do is run tube amps all day long. That would be nuts.
Be replacing tubes, expensive tubes.
Yeah.
But solid state electronics, I don't think really there's much credence to it, like Gary said.
No. And as far as your system needing a break, I mean, if CEDIA was any indicator, we're running beyond reference volume for about 9 hours. And the only thing that we've ever had—
if it needs a break, you don't have the right system.
Well, that's it. The Blu-ray player is the one thing that maybe, if you're pushing it too hard and constantly switching out discs like we do for demos, maybe. But even that, it's a rare occurrence where we have any.
Well, there is one caveat. If your system is shutting down after listening to it for some period of time, you probably are not ventilating it enough. It probably is overheating.
Yep.
And so if that ever happens, I would absolutely look to a way to ventilate it. Almost guarantee you, if that happened, it's in some kind of a closed-in space and it doesn't have room to breathe. And if that's where it has to be, then there are little quiet fans that can keep it cooler than it would have been. And I would definitely get that, because not only will it not shut down anymore, but you'll probably extend the life of the product.
Yeah, they're like little PC cooling fans. They use them for high performance, gaming computers, because they tend to run hot. But yeah, Gary's right. We call that thermal protect mode. If the amplifier section reaches a certain temperature, it starts pulling power, which you might notice, and then eventually will just click off, and you'll hear a click, and the relay clicks. And if you walk over and put your hand on it, if it's really hot, then you'll know that happened. And as Gary said, get some ventilation going in there with some quiet fans, and you'll probably avoid that situation entirely.
Very good. All right, let us do another giveaway. This time we're going to be doing a subwoofer, our SB1000 Pro sealed cabinet subwoofer. And the happy winner of the new subwoofer.
Have we said how they enter? Because I don't remember if we said that this time.
I did mention at the beginning, but I will re-mention.
All you have to do to enter for these giveaways is just make one comment. More than one won't get you more than one entry. You only get one entry. If maybe you said it and I was zoning out, so I apologize.
Yeah, we're chosen at random, so even if you're just making fun of me, then you still get an entry. And then Vince.
But if you make fun of me, you will not win. No, I'm kidding.
I can't speak to that, but we will choose the names at random, and then somebody from our team will reach out and get that subwoofer speaker shipped out to you within the next day or two. But the winner of our SB1000 Pro is Jeff with a G Blake. Jeff with a G Blake. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
A sweet new subwoofer coming your way.
Yay, Jeff. And, that's a subwoofer, by the way. Don't forget to say. They don't all know.
I tried. Well, we have a subwoofer question here coming from Tony C. And he wants to know, how can he determine if the SB3000 from SVS, also a sealed cabinet subwoofer, is too big for his room? He's got Polk R600 towers, and our subwoofer matching tool recommends the SB3000, but he's still unclear if he overshot his needs, primarily for Atmos movies. And if I can take the first stab at this, I think we've covered this before, where you can't really have too much sub, because you can always dial it back down. You can have not enough subwoofer, but how can he determine if it's the right fit, I guess, based on the matching tool and the speakers that he's running in?
I think the important point here is that what you first said, which is a subwoofer just needs to be adjusted so that it sounds correct. And any subwoofer that you have is going to need to be adjusted irrespective of the size of the room. But on the other hand, if the room is a small room, visually you might not want a giant subwoofer. Visually, it might take up too much space and you don't want to look at it. But as far as the sound goes, unless you make the subwoofer overwhelm the speakers, it doesn't have to. You should set, you would want to adjust it correctly for your speakers. And the SB3000 is a particularly versatile subwoofer. It's very quick. It goes deep. It's musical. I don't think it takes up too much space in most rooms, but of course I'm biased, being a subwoofer lover. Ed, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Nick made a very salient point. You can definitely under sub a system, but it's almost impossible to over sub it. As Gary said, when you level match and calibrate the subwoofer with the rest of the system, it can't overpower the room. That's just a function of proper level matching. I guess a better way to look at it is, could you conceivably buy more sub than you need for a given room size and playback level? Yes. And really, we look at that on a case-by-case basis. Just ask the right questions. How big is the room? How high is the playback level? What type of source material are you playing? Is it demanding action and sci-fi? And we sort of zero in on that particular use case and say, this model or that model will work great for that application.
One of the things people say to me very often when we were at these in-person events, or I bump into people that are familiar with SVS, is, oh yeah, I dealt with the SVS customer service person and he or she told me that was more than I needed. They're like talking talking the person out of spending more money. I'm like, oh my God, but we do that. I mean, we want to give people good advice, so we're not going to tell you, get the top of the line. If every SVS subwoofer represents the SVS product excellence vision. There's not one that's like, oh, it's not a very good one because it's lower price. They all represent our product excellence vision. So you want to get the one that fills your needs. And Ed, your team does a great job not overselling people.
Yeah, you want to make sure the subwoofer has enough dynamic range in reserve to sound clean and linear and hit all the peaks without stress. And that's just a function of sizing the sub to the system and the application and the room size. We always like to say headroom has a quality all its own. And there's nothing better than a subwoofer which is properly suited and not stressing out when you're playing at your preferred level and hitting those peaks cleanly. And that's really what it's all about, is that matching process that our team does with each customer.
All right, let's switch it up from subwoofers and talk about height speakers for a minute. I'm going to butcher this name. Azaizmi wants to know, does the sound quality of height channels matter? And by height channels, overhead speakers like you kind of see here behind me, also known as object-based surround sound or height effect speakers. Larry, what do you think? Does the sound quality matter?
Totally. So I'll give you guys just an anecdote. Comparing, say, like an in-ceiling speaker to maybe our prime or ultra evolution elevation speakers. Most in-ceiling speakers are typically really meant for background music, softer noises, not necessarily like King Kong chasing you down or some of the big effects driven stuff that we tend to play at our events. So you're normally getting, most of the time, they're about 100, 110 hertz or higher in a crossover. So that means higher frequency. So the higher that number, that means you will hear stuff. You won't hear much of anything lower than that, like rumbles and roars. The prime elevation, when we're at most of our events or like even in our listening rooms in our homes, we tend to cross over around 80 hertz. So we're getting quite a bit more range there. We're digging deeper. We're getting more capability. But the new ultra evolution elevation in the systems like we do at CEDIA, or if any of you go to our events in person, I cross those things all the way down to 60 hertz. So what that means is we're getting basically full range sound out of a speaker that we're hanging on the wall or putting on the ceiling. And now with all the new content that's out there, there's just so much more to it. There's more immersion. It's not just music and wind and rain, which is what you would conventionally hear out of an in-ceiling speaker. You are getting vocalization if something is supposed to be there. You're getting rumbles of engines. You're getting explosions. Ready Player One, you get King Kong bashing his fists into the ground and breathing down above you. And I think that really makes a huge difference. And if you get a truly capable speaker for your height effects, it's way more immersive. And now with whether it's 4K Blu-ray or streaming or even gaming, there's a lot more content on that.
Yeah, I think early on in the process, these soundtracks for the height channels were sort of, we call band limited or frequency limited to about 120 hertz. And there really wasn't any mid bass in these particular soundtrack channels. But that's kind of changed over time. And these height channels do, as Larry said, do have some mid bass content that really makes it more enveloping and immersive. And having a speaker that can deliver down into the mid-bass regions for height effects really adds a new dimension to the sound. I think I remember Larry raving about the difference between prime elevation, which is excellent in its own right, and ultra evolution elevation, and how much more enveloping and immersive it was with that larger woofer and additional bass output.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say, just personal experience. I really didn't expect there to be that much difference, but this is what I do for a living. So I took down my prime elevation height effect speakers. I have 2 pairs, and I snapped into place one day when they first came out, ultra evolution elevation speakers, not really expecting to even notice. And holy cow, I noticed immediately. I was actually very surprised that it was that obvious with pretty much all content. That caveat is, of course, it would have to already have height effects in the soundtrack. I don't know that I would have noticed if it was some kind of up-converted thing that was not a Dolby Atmos or DTSX track. But everything where height effects is part of the content, immediately I heard the difference. It was obvious.
Very well said. So, a question about subwoofers here and matching. Mariota wants to know if he can we talk about the imbalance or the sonic effect that happens when audiophiles specifically use subwoofers of two different sizes, and he points out a 10 and a 12-inch, for instance. What are you hearing? What are the sort of off balance sound that you're hearing, and then can you do anything about it?
I'm less concerned about two different size drivers than I am about two different brands, or if it's ported and sealed in the same room. If it's, we don't make a 10-inch. I think that's from a long time ago, when before even I was a part of the company. Did we have a 10-inch subwoofer? But if you mixed our for example, SB1000 Pro with an SB3000, they're very similar in terms of their sonic footprint, as long as they're both sealed boxes in the same brand. And I'm not necessarily advocating for SVS. Obviously, those are our children. We love SVS because that's who we are. But I would, regardless, I would keep it the same brand and the same kind of form factor, meaning sealed with sealed, never sealed with ported. Yeah. Ed, anything you want to say about that?
I agree. The sealed and ported have very different what we call phase responses, which is how they behave in the time domain. The ported sub will have a different phase response, particularly over the port tuning bandwidth, and that can cause phase cancellation and other time domain problems with the sealed sub. So that's why we don't like mixing them together. They just don't get along nicely. The bass ends up sounding sort of vague and muddy and not tight. And when you go to two of the same subwoofer, either both ported or both sealed, and especially two of the same exact model, the bass really snaps into focus. You get rid of all those phase related and time domain issues, and you have a much better experience.
So another subwoofer question here, Box 510 Motorcycles. I feel like I just gave out a plug there, so you're welcome. He's running two SB1000 Pros, and one's wired and one's wireless, but he has separate delay settings. Is this a problem?
Not if you have separate delay settings. As good as our wireless audio adapter is, there is a little bit of latency associated with it that's not present with a wired connection. So if you're running an AV processor that has the ability to set a different distance for the wired subwoofer and the wireless subwoofer, and many of the high-end ones do, it's not a problem at all. It will detect the additional latency and just view that as the subwoofer's actually farther away, and it'll just compensate for that with the subwoofer distance setting. So again, if you have the ability to do different distances for each sub, it's not a problem at all.
There you go.
Well, let me ask you, Ed. This is actually an interesting question. Would you, if you are wireless with one of the subwoofers, would you not recommend that they just go wireless with both?
If the AV processor cannot process a different distance for each one, Gary, the answer is yes. You can go wireless for both. Then it will see the same time delay for both subwoofers, and then it will set the correct distance for the sub channel, which will then work properly with both subwoofers because they're both wireless. So that was a great question.
So question about placement of a center channel speaker. If they have a home theater stand with glass shelves, are there any issues with the center channel rattling or causing vibration that might be distracting in the system? Glass shelves on an AV receiver stand.
My center channel is on a glass shelf because that's the only way I can do it. It's in a BDI stand on a glass shelf, and it is a concern. And what you need to do is you get something to keep it off the glass. It could be something as basic as rubber sticky tack, or it could be our SoundPath subwoofer isolation system. In my case, it doesn't fit, so I can't use that. So I use some rubber. Is there a generic name for what we call sticky tack? I use some rubber.
The little blue like thumbtack stuff that you can use to like earthquake putty, like earthquake putty, even, you know.
Yeah, even Play-Doh. Anything that gets it off the glass is well worth doing. Even if it only gets it like 2 millimeters off the glass, it's worth it.
So there you go.
The other thing to look at, Nick, before we get off of that one is edge diffraction, which could happen with any solid surface, but glass is especially prone to it. If the center channel is pushed back on the entertainment center or pushed back into a cubby hole, it can the output can bounce off the edges of the entertainment stand and cause what we call edge diffraction, which really smears the sound. So you want to make sure the center channel is pulled forward so it's. Can you show
like that?
I mean, it needs to almost look weird.
It's got to be ahead of everything, so it's not bouncing off. If you have it pushed inside of that cubby hole, it's going to sound terrible, kind of like this. And you really don't want that issue with your center channel. So pull it forward.
It needs to look a little weird. It needs to literally be sticking out of your cabinet, almost like it's like a nose sticking out.
Yep.
And even if it looks a little weird, it's well worth it for the sound.
And especially if you can align the tweeters with your front, left, and right, you know, where all of those are sort of aligned in terms of the space, then it's going to be just that much better performing.
And if you want a really easy, cheap kind of fix for those really tight situations where it's inside a cabinet or whatever, if you get on Amazon or whatever, look for one of these big old huge like mouse pads, one of the big ones. It's almost like a full desk size because your center channel would fit on there, and I've used that in a few rooms too.
All right.
Somebody just recommended a mouse pad, which actually would work fine.
It's a hack. There you go. Life hack right there. All right. I think we have time for one more question here. And actually, this is a great catch-all question because we see so many interesting questions about subwoofers and settings. And Bradley wants to know, when contacting SVS customer service, what information about my system should I have ready if I'm calling for help setting up my subwoofer? So Ed, what's helpful for people to come prepared with if they're going to reach out in terms of setting up their subwoofer?
All your upstream sources, and that would be like streaming boxes, smart TV, Blu-ray player, gaming console, that type of thing. The brand and model of AV processor, AV receiver, brand and model of all your speakers, the room size, how far away you're sitting from the front stage, and the type of room. What is this, like a living room, family room? Is it a dedicated home theater room? Are there any lifestyle limitations like size, visual impact, footprint, decor integration? Those are all priorities, and they vary from person to person. So once we start getting a complete picture of what this system looks like, things can start to gel, and then we can talk about what type of sources are you playing? Is this mostly music? Is it mostly theater? Is it video streaming? Is it gaming? What's the playback level? And then we can start really funneling down into a very solid recommendation that'll work great for that particular system and application.
Yep. And to that point, if you have pictures too, of the room and where you have things placed, that can be helpful. And of course, we do the video consultations as well. If you want to give our CS team a live look into your room and into your settings.
Those are a lot of fun because we literally go on a virtual tour of that room and that system, and we can talk about loudspeaker placement, subwoofer placement, where to put the surround speakers and the height channels. Again, lifestyle considerations and decor integration and what size sub will work best. And then we can also do a deep dive into the setup menu for the AV processor and the TV, make sure all the sources are bit streaming, Dolby Digital, and everything's set up properly in the AV processor. We can look at all the different menu screens. It's really a powerful tool that our customers and service that our customers love.
Well, Ed, you might have a busy day tomorrow. Not that you don't always have a busy day, but hopefully that will be helpful to some people as they get their systems dialed in. So before we get to the last giveaway, I first wanted to say thank you. I saw a bunch of comments for people who came out to see us at Worldwide Stereo a few weeks ago. an awesome event. We had such
What
a
a fun
blast.
event. We loved it.
Thank you for everyone who came out there. Worldwide Stereo always rolls out the red carpet, so thank you to them as well. Next happy hour we have scheduled for 2 weeks from now, September 24th. That's another Wednesday, same time as always, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. So September 24th, we'll be back. And then looking ahead, in addition to the Capital Audio Fest, we'll be doing a event for our community at APT, which is in just in the Chicago area. One of their iconic stores, one of our favorite dealers in the country, APT, that's ABT. You can find us there November 4th, 5 to 7 Central. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more in these coming weeks. But final giveaway of the evening is a 3000 micro subwoofer. And our winner of that subwoofer is Del Dolly. That's D-E-L, Del Dolly. Congratulations.
Yay, Del.
Congratulations.
So that puts a wrap on number 92. We'll be back for number 93 in a couple weeks, hopefully with a special guest, maybe somebody involved with the movie Sinners. But thanks for everyone tuning in, the awesome questions. Hopefully you learned something, and we will catch you down the road.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, everybody.